I am excited for another week here at Midweek. I am actually very, very sad that we won't be here next week, but it's all right. We get a little bit of break. We get some time spent with our family, so that's all right. But I'm going to be continuing our series. Does anybody remember what it's called? Show it on the screen. Show it on the screen. Oh, yeah. What was that? All right. We are continuing through He is Love, okay? So we started this a couple weeks ago, so I'm going to recap. I want to remind you guys about what we have talked about so far. So remember, the first week we talked about lies. So whether that's lying to ourselves, lying to God, or lying about God, and ultimately how His love is better than those lies. And then last week we talked about responsibility to grow closer to God, to be better so that we can be better for the people around us. And this week, we are going to be talking about someone that we know really, really well. And that's ourself, okay? We're going to be talking about ourself and what it looks like to not only love one another, but to know that the love of Christ helps us to love one another better, okay? So sometimes that can often take like a big moment in our lives, like a big life-changing moment, something that makes us realize that we need to love other people better. So who in here knows who Keanu Reeves is? Raise your hand if you know who Keanu Reeves is. So I have a picture. You go ahead and put that up on the screen of Keanu Reeves. So that's him there. So some of you might know him from The Matrix, which might be a little old for some of you guys, but some of you guys else might know him from Toy Story 4. He did the voice of Duke in Toy Story 4. So that's him there. And so the other thing, though, that you might know really well about him is that he is like a super nice guy, okay? Like he has like this reputation for doing really good things for people. So for example, like there was one point when he was on a plane, the plane broke down the runway, and so what had to happen was they had to take a bus to their destination. And so Keanu Reeves like got him and the rest of his crew on the bus. He's like, let's bring everybody else that was on the plane. Like, we're gonna drive, and I'm just gonna entertain them. And he told them all these stories. And there's another story about this girl that he met that her car broke down, and he chose to drive her 50 miles out of his way to get her where she needed to go. You know, he is also known for, and this is the big one, is that he gives up his seat on the subway for people, especially people that really need seats on the subway. And there's all these videos on the internet of that. And the big thing is Keanu Reeves is a super nice guy. But the reason that he has this reputation is because of a lot of the events that happened in his life. So you might not know this, but when he was a kid, his dad left home. His dad just left him there. And then his best friend was named River Phoenix. River Phoenix, he was another actor. River Phoenix actually died from a drug overdose. And so then also when Keanu Reeves got older and he was married, him and his wife were having a child, and their child died at birth. And not only that, but it almost completely ruined his marriage. But not a year later, his wife died in a car accident. And so all of these things, all these big events that happened in Keanu's life, it feels like a lot, I know. But a lot of these events made him realize, and he said this before, that everything around him is bigger than himself. People are more important than he is. And so he wants to show people that. So he's going to go out of his way. He might be famous and all this stuff, and he might make some super sweet movies, but he wants to show other people that they're important. And that's what I want for you guys. I want you guys to see how important people are around us. And so when we look in 1 John today, we might not think we have these big life-changing experiences like he did, when in reality we do, and that comes through Christ. So we are going to go through 1 John chapter 3, a part of it today, and we're going to see how we can love people better, and specifically the people around us, but also, remember, this is the thing I want you guys to take away each week, that our joy may be complete. All right, say that with me again, that our joy may be complete. All right, one more time, you guys can do better. That our joy may be complete. Nice. So we're going to take a look at 1 John chapter 3. You can take a look up on the screens. It'll be up on there. Starting in verse 11, it says, "For this is the message that you have heard from the beginning, that we should love one another. We should not be like Cain, who was of the evil one and murdered his brother. And why did he murder him? Because his own deeds were evil and his brother's righteous. Do not be surprised, brothers, that the world hates you. We know that we have passed out of death into life because we love the brothers. Whoever does not love abides in death. Everyone who hates his brother is a murderer, and you know that no murderer has eternal life abiding in him." So when you read that, that's some like pretty like dark stuff, and like that's some pretty tough stuff to swallow. Like saying that you might be a murderer, like that's kind of a big deal. But what I want to look here is that this is very personal for us. So at the beginning, it talks about, a lot of times throughout this passage, the word brothers. So when John is using the word brothers, he is specifically pointing at the Christians, the brothers and sisters of the faith that are around him, or that are everybody else that is reading this letter, people that are Christians. So he wants Christians to realize the importance of loving other Christians. And so these are people that are in the church with him, people that he knows intimately or people that he wants to know more. And we talked a little bit about this last week, right? About growing for one another so that we can help make each other better and how we can have fellowship with each other. So he brings up the story of Cain and Abel. Does anybody in here know the story of Cain and Abel? Okay, see you show hands. Okay, so a good amount of you. So for those of you that don't know the story of Cain and Abel, this story happens all the way in the beginning of the Bible in Genesis 4, okay? And there's a lot to the story, but to kind of give you like the Spark Notes short version of it, basically there are two brothers, Cain and Abel. And these two brothers, basically, one of them was evil and one of them was good, okay? And so Cain, the evil one, he saw Abel who was loved in the eyes of God. He was jealous. And there were events that transpired, but ultimately, he kills his brother out of jealousy, out of anger against him. And so John tells us this story for the exact reason that you think. Don't be like him, okay? Now you might be like, oh, don't worry, I'm not going to kill my brother. I'm not going to kill my friend. I'm not going to kill my sister. Yeah, well, that's what the point John is making, is that you don't have to physically kill them for it to be similar of a murderer. And that's hard. Cain was evil, right? He worked against God. He didn't do what God had called him to do. He ultimately was working out of spite, out of frustration. And so when he did this, he ultimately felt that rage boil up and it set him over. And he was angry for his brother. And so this next part of this passage then talks about that the world hates you. The world hates you. And Jesus prophesied about this all the time. He talked about this all the time. It happened to him, and he was ultimately killed. But what John is trying to tell you is that the world is going to hate you. And it's not because you're doing anything wrong or because you are not loving somebody the right way, but rather it's because we are different. We are taking this effort, this stride to be different, to be that representative in a world that needs it. And so when people see different, that is why it says that the world is going to hate you. Because you are making those strides and that effort because you have Christ in you. The next part of the passage tells those of us who are Christians that hate someone, that you don't have love in you, that you abide in death. And then that's big. That's tough. Like, this isn't one of those things for you to put off. It's not just the Bible trying to scare you, or it's not the person writing it trying to scare you. Like, this is real. Like, he is saying that if you hate someone, then you truly don't know God. Because you wouldn't be like that. It's like saying somebody that's a big fan of a celebrity. Like, if you're a big fan of Keanu Reeves, but you're like, I don't really get that lifestyle. Like, I don't know if I'd want to live that lifestyle. Like, and so you choose to do the complete opposite of what he does. Like, are you actually a fan? You know? Do you guys know Alan's favorite car brand? Volkswagen, right? Volkswagen. This is like if Alan was telling you guys how much he likes Volkswagen, yet he doesn't drive a Volkswagen. Like, he is saying that, like, I'm a big fan of this person, I'm a big fan of this thing, but I'm not going to commit to it. If you say you are a big fan and that you are following Christ and that he is in you and that he has changed your heart, yet you go out and live a completely different life, he is saying that you don't have Christ in you. And it's not a you might not. It's a you don't. This is like a serious thing. It's like, this is seriously pointing to you and making you look at your own heart. Because he's saying you might have Christ in you. He is saying that if you are there and you see somebody that is staying alone in the corner, rather than inviting them into the group and letting them you'd rather let them just stay in the corner because you're afraid that they might be weird or something might be like different about them and you don't want them to weird up your group, you know? But is that loving? Is it loving when you say that little bit of trash talk during the game you're playing that just takes it one step too far, but you're like, they could take it? Is that truly loving? Is it loving when you start pointing fingers at people because you don't know who gave you COVID, but you're still frustrated about it? Is that loving? Is that really? That you're so willing to blame other people? That's what John wants you to know. And that first point is that we need to love. We need to love because we have to represent Christ well. We need to love. John is saying that if you hate your brother, then you're like a murderer. Like, that's the severity of it. Like, you have already killed that person in your heart. And he wants you to really take a look, a serious look, and see if that is where your heart is at. But the passage doesn't end there. That was a lot of like condemning and like telling you might be wrong, but the passage doesn't end there. So let's take a look at the next part of the passage here. Starting in verse 16, it says, "By this we know love, that he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brothers. But if anyone has the world's goods and sees his brother in need, yet closes his heart against him, how does God's love abide in him? Little children, let us not love in word or talk, but in deed and in truth." As Christians, we should know love better than anyone, because Christ has loved us first on the cross through the ultimate love. Through the ultimate love. We know love better than anyone because Christ died for us. And so because of that, we should want to do the same. We should want to take that effort and go and to take it the next mile, to be selfless for one another. We know love so much that we can't just take that for granted, that Christ died for us. Like, don't let that just be the foundational thing, and now you're a Christian, and now you're good to go, and you're going to be in heaven. Don't let it stop there, but let that motivate you to take that next step, to live selflessly for the brothers and sisters, the Christians around us. Christ laid down his life, so we should be willing to do the same action. You might never come to that, but we should be willing. And so John then uses this to contrast, compare and contrast what it looks like for for a brother that needs something. So if a brother truly needs something, a brother or sister, and you're like, nah, that's all right. You just blew this person off. They needed money. They needed dinner. They needed somebody to talk to. And you're just willing to be like, nah, it's all right. You'll figure it out. It'll be fine. You know? Do you really represent Christ well? You know, if you're willing to let somebody that needs something suffer. Now, I'm not saying that you have to give everything all the time kind of thing. If Austin came up to me and Austin was like, hey, I have lunch at home, but I really want some Wendy's and I can't afford it, but I really want to go. So, as my brother and brothers in Christ and stuff, you should probably take me and buy me lunch. It's like, okay, well, I like Austin, so I'd probably take him. I'd probably buy him lunch. But if you don't have that extra money and he doesn't actually need it, we're not called in that situation to be like, I can try to scrape something together. I'll check under the couch kind of thing, look for some coins. But what it's saying is that if Austin came up to me, he's like, I have no money, I have no food, and I am really, I'm really hungry, and I don't know what to do. Of course I'm going to take him to lunch. I want to love him. I want to show him that he matters, that he has value. It's not the opportunity is there, so why not take it? Why not take it? So imagine if I called somebody up here, like, Ryan, come on up here. Come here, Ryan. Oh, no, okay, Ryan say no. Kev, Leona, come on up, come here. All right. So it's like it. Yeah. All right, you can stay there. So it's like if I looked at Leona and I was like, hey, Leona, like, I think you're awesome. I think you're cool. I want to give you a free snack card. And then I just didn't do it. Oh, that's awkward. Yeah, like what does that say about me? Think about it. Like, I'm kind of a trash person at that point. It's not good. It's not cool. She's gonna remember that. And so, but the thing I want you to think about is what more importantly, how does that represent Christ? The one that was willing to give his life for you, and I'm not willing to give Leona a snack card? $1 piece of candy is basically what it is. Like, I'm all talk, but none of my actions show it. That is not what lovingness looks like. Leona, I'm still going to give you a snack card. I'll give it to you later, okay? So don't worry about it. But what I want you to see is that we should be people of our word. I should be able to say that I'm going to give Leona that snack card and then actually give it to her. But so don't let your deeds just be words, but actually do them and commit to them when you say you're going to do it. That is what it looks like to be truly loving, and that's because we know love, and that's where our joy may be complete. Now, there's a little bit left in this passage, so take a look up at the screens. It's going to be on there. Starting in verse 19, it says, "By this we shall know that we are of the truth and reassure our heart before him. For whenever our heart condemns us, God is greater than our heart, and he knows everything." And he knows everything. So when this verse starts, it says, "By this." So that means that everything that was before it is where we see that application. So when we take our words into action, when we actually do the things that we say we're going to do, and we love people well enough in that means that we are truly showing love and that we are reassuring our heart before God that we truly have him there. This is important because it's proof that we have changed. It's proof that we are different. It's proof that God has made us loving in the best way possible. That is proof, and it's good. And it shows people that God is the one that has changed us. And it's like a breath of fresh air, like he's actually changed me. I'm different. I'm not walking in that darkness that we've talked about before, but I'm walking in the light. But that next part is important because we will mess up. For whenever our hearts condemn us, it's going to happen. Like, we will, as people that naturally choose darkness, we will choose it. But the thing is, the next point is that we need to be loved. We need to be loved. We can't do this alone, but we need to be loved. There will be times when people really frustrate us, and it gets really hard to love them well. But it is a blessing, and it is almost like a weight off our shoulders that God is bigger than our hearts, that he's better than our hearts. It is ultimately a faithful act from God that he is willing to do that for us. So I'm going to bring Alan up here real quick, all right? So hey, can we hear for Alan? Round of applause for Alan. All right. I told Alan that he's going to have to come up here, and I didn't exactly give him all the details of what it was going to be. So, we'll see how this goes. But basically, Alan, what I want you to do is, I want you to stand on one foot, and it has not your dominant foot, so not like whatever hand you're dominant with, stand on the other foot. So your left foot. He's really trying to figure this out. Okay, all right. Yep. So your other foot can't touch the ground at all. So Alan, is this going to be hard for you? It's going to be really hard for Alan. So I want you to think about this, okay? It's really hard. Like, he's already falling. Did he really? Oh, gosh, all right. But think about this. It's going to be really hard for Alan to do this, right? I've asked him to do something that he's not normally doing, that is hard for him, and that ultimately what's going to happen is, like, he's going to want to stand on that other foot. He's going to want to go to the way that life was normally before, but I'm asking him to stand on his other foot. But here's the thing, all right? And just so you know, I did use hand sanitizer before I do this, but things are going to come and push him. They're going to shove him like this. And look, do you see what his feet did? He went back to standing on 2 feet. He resorted to going back to his old life. And so I want you to think about this. When you're a Christian, you can stand on your 2 feet for right now if you want. As a Christian, we are changed, but that means that we are different. So your life doesn't look the same that it did before. So you aren't standing on 2 feet anymore. You're standing on 1 foot, because that balancing, it's going to get hard. It's going to get tough. And that time when your friend is really frustrating you, it's going to be like being shoved over. Sorry. And it's going to be like being shoved over. And you're going to land back on those 2 feet, and you're going to want to be in that old lifestyle, that old way, and you're going to want to yell back, you're going to want to push back. When that guy trash talks you on the court, and you just want to yell at him back, you're going to do it, because ultimately, he's going to push you to a point that makes you step. But I'm going to bring Aaron up here. Aaron Bullard, come on up here. Let's hear it for Aaron real quick. Yeah. So, Aaron, can you stand on Alan's right side there? So if Alan goes back to standing on his 1 foot again, can you stand on your 1 foot? All right, he's going to try his best. If I go try to push Alan with Aaron there, he's going to hold him up. He's going to hold him up. So when those tough things in life come, One more time? Okay. When those tough things in life come and they're pushing Alan, Aaron's there to catch him. All right? So you guys go ahead and take a seat. You guys go ahead thank you for coming up here. That's awkward. But listen to this, guys. So when you're in this new life and you're trying to not get frustrated with those people around you, and you want to love them and you know it's the right thing to do, but you just get shoved, that's where God comes in. He's bigger than your heart. He knows everything. He is so much bigger. So when you get shoved over, he's going to be there to catch you and support you. So that in this new life, you are no longer going to have to worry about falling on those 2 feet as much. But he's going to catch you and support you and get you back in that spot. So in those times when this is easier said than done, God is there. He's going to hold you up. You might be asking how, though. Dig into his word. Read the Bible. You'll see support there. Pray. When life gets hard and it's at its hardest moment, that is your opportunity to talk to God. And lastly, think about what we talked about last week. Look for people that are closer with God and have been with God longer, and ask them for help. Because like I said, it's easier said than done, but ultimately, our joy will be made complete when we can love the person that is sitting next to us. Okay? So I'm going to let you guys go and talk about some questions in your groups, all right? Those questions are up on the screen. So break out into your groups. Leaders, if you guys want to take one group per leader, and I'm going to come back here in a minute and wrap things up, all right? So we're going to go for like 8, 10-ish minutes, something like that. So find a leader, circle up, talk about these questions, all right? So, hey, I know that wasn't a whole ton of time, but there's one more thing I want to talk about. So we've talked 2 weeks now about how we can love the Christians around us better, right? That one is about growth, and the other one is that we make ourselves less and we make everybody else bigger than us. That we make everybody else more important than us. And we realize that in those times that it might be tough or it might be hard, that God is going to be there to support us and to hold us up. And so if you look at the bottom of your card, there should be a spot for you to write the name of somebody that you want to love better. Okay? So I'm going to give you like 30 seconds, and I want you to think of that person's name, write it there, and then rip that piece of paper off and like throw it in your wallet or in your pocket and hang it up somewhere where you look every day, or put it in your wallet where you look every day. And remember to love that person. So I'm going to give you like 30 seconds. Think of somebody and write their name down, okay? Okay. So write that person's name down and throw it in your pocket, and then put it somewhere where you'll remember it. Put it somewhere where you'll see it every day. Remember, we're called to be better, and we're called to grow and to love one another. Okay? I'm going to pray for us, and then I will wrap up for the night. Dear Lord, I thank you for today. I thank you for everybody in this room, that we can come here, that we can have fun in your name. Lord, and let that be fun, that we love each other better, that we care for one another, and that we make everybody else around us more important because you did that first. Help us remember that every day, and it won't just be another thing that we know, but it's a vital part of our life. And help us to love the person that we wrote down, that we were thinking of. In your name I pray. Amen.